Today, we answer your questions about Juan Soto and other possible moves the Cardinals might make at the trade deadline.
We also preview the series this week against the Toronto Blue Jays as the Cardinals travel north of the border. We also end with more speculation on Juan Soto. Come to St. Louis, Juan. All that and more on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Locked On Cardinals. I'm JD Haffron, that is Lucas Smith, and we are your hosts for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter at JD Sports Radio. Lucas is at LJ Fastball. Follow the podcast at Locked On Cardinals. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You'll find Locked On Cardinals, a show serving Cardinal Nation and getting the best fans in baseball all the info about the birds on the bat that you can handle. We've got a loaded show here today, Lucas. A lot of things to talk about. Obviously, Juan Soto. Everybody wants to get on the conversation. I was out at the Reds game last night against the Marlins, and everybody just wanted to talk about Juan Soto. So obviously, we'll get into that. Speaking of talking to people about things, we're going to dive into, I guess, kind of like a mailbag version, if you will. We've got some comments and some different things that people sent to us on Twitter. So we're going to be answering some questions that the fans want to know some answers to. We'll do our best to get those to you. Plus, we'll be talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, a very good team in Toronto is where the Cardinals are tonight to face them. So we'll get to all of this in today's episode. So we'll start off with answering your questions. We love to be able to interact with you all at the when you guys take the time out of your day to listen to our podcast or watch it on YouTube. So remember, you can always leave comments under the videos or hit us up on Twitter at JD Sports Radio, at LJ Fastball. And as far as the actual Locked On Cardinals site there, you've got at LO_Cardinals, where you can write to us there as well. So Lucas, I'll leave it up to you. You've got all the questions over there for us. So you said you got some doozies for us today. Let's see what they got.
We got some good ones. We got some from Twitter as well as Instagram. So if we didn't get to it, we apologize. There was a couple that we interact or that you interact with on Twitter as well. So if we're going to start off with kind of a would you rather type question on Instagram, it comes from at Francis COCGD on Instagram. Says, get Soto or 3 or more good pitchers. And he has greetings from Brazil. Actually, it's the actual the flag. I hope I got the flag right. But the question. And we talked about this a little bit last week, JD. Soto or pitching? It's really hard to ignore the need for pitching on this team. And it's really hard to ignore a Hall of Fame caliber trajectory that Juan Soto has put himself on. Which one of you? We talked about it a little bit. But if you choose between Soto or 3 pitchers, not just 1 or 2, 3, that makes the decision that much more difficult.
Yeah, because I would assume that you're starting. You want a couple of starting rotation pieces, and then just add maybe somebody for the bullpen. It makes sense. I keep going back and forth, Lucas. I don't know which. I want everybody. I just want them all to come out of the Cardinals, and I want them to go to the World Series, and I want them to win it. I would love to have Soto, but this Matt's injury that just happened even pushes it to the forefront more that they need starting pitching. It just, unfortunately, with the Matt's injury, it makes things even that more difficult. And obviously there are more starting pitchers available than there is Juan Soto's out there to go get your hands on. So I still lean towards the starting pitching is what I would want. If I can get 3 good pitchers, I already think this offense is pretty darn good as it is, barring, what's going to happen in Toronto without Goldschmidt and Arenado playing. But I already think the offense is pretty darn good. Adding Soto would be amazing and would make the lineup even that more incredible. But you'd still have your problems in the starting rotation that you don't have any answers to. I mean, you're hoping Dakota Hudson comes back from the neck thing that he's dealing with, and you hope he's good. But as of right now, you're relying on Palante and Hudson, and you get into the playoffs and you get into a series, I don't know how comfortable you feel. I know I don't feel that great about that if that's the guy you got to throw in game 3 against some of these elite teams.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say this, like when we talk about getting pitching, we're not talking about getting one pitcher, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I are on the same page. They need 2, and this Frank just asked if they need 3 to make it successful. Like if they don't get Soto and Juan Soto goes to San Diego or somewhere else, that have been linked to him, Seattle, I know as well, and the Cardinals end up with 3 or 4 different pitchers or 2 or 3, then you can kind of sit back and say, okay, that's fine. Now, if they miss on Soto and miss on pitching, that's when you start struggling with this is a failed deadline, right? And when you're looking at the Soto deal, as we move on to our next question from @pierce.ee on Instagram, are the Cardinals really considering trading Dylan Carlson in the Juan Soto trade? I put a sad face there. I can't put an emoji, but he had a sad face emoji. So you have to give to get, JD. And if you're going to get Juan Soto, 3 pennant races, that's the thing. Is like, yes, it's only 2 years after this, but for the Cardinals' standpoint, it's 3 chances at October. You got this year, that's a legitimate shot. Next year, and years going forward. And I think that you need to be willing to give up somebody. I would rather give up a Bader or an O'Neill. Personally, I think Carlson has a better career trajectory. That's just my own opinion. But yes, to answer this question shortly, they are considering it, and you have to consider trading those types of Major League Baseball pieces when you are wanting a guy like Juan Soto.
Yeah. I mean, we're very much used to the Cardinals fleecing most teams in trades. Like when you go back and look at some of the bigger deals, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we just look what you gave up to get Arenado. I mean, come on.
Nothing.
Nothing all that special,
All due respect to Austin Gomber, but nothing.
Yeah. So when you get it normally, I know we're spoiled as Cardinal fans, and then we've seen these trades get done. When they went and got McGuire, they gave up just a bag of nothing. Like it has happened for them, like the Jim Edmonds trade for Kemp Bottenfield. Like what they end up winning most of these trades. Now you've seen kind of the other side when they did the Ozuna trade, which Ozuna was good. But now you see it didn't get a championship done, unfortunately. And then, Sandy Alcantara is doing what he does. And you're like, oh, that one stings a little bit. You're not going to win them all. But this is certainly one where, Dylan Carlson, that's why the Nationals would want him. Like we say, yeah, we'd rather trade a Bader or an O'Neill. But Carlson's who they want. They want a guy who's younger. He's 24. He's a switch hitter. He can clearly play center field at an elite level. And he's got a bright future ahead of him. That's why the Nationals want this guy. But if you get Juan Soto in return, I think I would trade Dylan Carlson for Juan Soto every single day of the week. You would do that trade, right?
Likely, most days of the week. Call it five out of 7. There are some days when my emotional heartstrings are going to keep Carlson a little bit longer. But no, it's a very good point. Even with the Goldschmidt trade, Luke Weaver and Carson Kelly, and you get Paul Goldschmidt, that's a win there too. And when you look at different trades the Cardinals might make, as we switch over to Twitter for this next question, at bro1_Wolverine, nice username there. Which of the following starting pitchers do you prefer? This person spelled prefer correctly. I did not on the YouTube screen. The Cardinals trade for Montas, Syndergaard, or Bumgarner. This is a fascinating one, JD. Ooh. If you had to pick one, I lean towards. I'm gonna jump in on this one first. I lean towards Madison Bumgarner. I think you're going to say the same thing based on conversations in the past, but I think you need a lefty. And with Steven Matz being out a number of weeks, call me old-fashioned, but you need a lefty in the rotation. You cannot just throw out 5 right-handed arms. You need some variance. You need some different looks. I mean, Bumgarner, his contract is up there for what he's giving you, but also he's playoff proven. This is somebody that has won 3 world championships. He's done it in the postseason, MVP in the postseason series. He knows how to win, and he can bring that to the Cardinals. It's a big reason why they brought John Lester on last year. Obviously, Lester is not what Bumgarner is, but that's a big reason. So of those 3, I pick Bumgarner.
I like Bumgarner a lot. That has not been a secret, but I'll switch it up just to give you a different answer. You've got Frankie Montas, who doesn't make a ton of money. He's making a little over $5 million this year, and he's arbitration eligible next year, and then becomes a free agent. I like what he brings to the table. Like, I think he's very good. Obviously, he's coming off a bit of a shoulder injury, but he looked pretty good. Vila was up where it needed to be his last time out. So I think he's really good. What made me nervous about him was when trade speculation started was the amount that Oakland was going to try to get back for him, because I don't think he's a great pitcher by any means.
Right.
And it seemed like people were kind of trying to jump through hoops to get him, and they were going to give up some really big prospects to land him. And I don't find him to be ace material. So I didn't want to give up as much as it looked like the A's were going to try to get. But I would love to have Frankie in the rotation. I think he'd be a fantastic piece. And then Syndergaard on the other side of things, Velo's down a little bit this year. He's not, pumping 100 like he used to, but he's a free agent after the year. You're not going to have to give up hardly anything to land him. So all three of those pieces would look great in a Cardinal uniform. Give me two of them if you can. That would be great. That would solve a major problem if you're able to get Bumgarner or one of the other two along with them. That would be amazing. That would be a huge win at the deadline if they could pull that off.
Agreed. And this segment's going to run long because we have a couple more questions that I really want to get to, and we want to interact with you guys as much as we can. We're going to change gears for just a minute. Coach Corey, 25. Corey actually coached me in T-ball years ago, so hi, Corey. He said, "What do you think will happen with Paul DeJong? Called up, traded, or free agent?" I say traded. I think he can be a valuable trade piece. I think that you should try and see what you can get from a trade. What say you?
I agree. I think that the people will still. He's a good glove. He's not great, but he's good. He's solid, and he brings power, which people really want. Guys who can hit the ball over the wall. That's just something that will always be attractive to other teams. He's not all that expensive. He's not old. Part of me is surprised that they haven't pulled him up yet, considering what they're going through right now, injury-wise, and the struggles of like Sosa, who has been pretty good with the glove, but like he's almost an automatic out, man. Like watching him strike out 4 times, I was just like, ugh, I'm done with this, man. No. But I could see him being a part of a trade to get a veteran pitcher for sure. I don't necessarily think the Nationals would want him as part of the Soto deal, but because just the money wise, they're trying to shed money, so they're not going to try to pick him up. But I could see you definitely moving him along for somebody like a Quintana of the Pirates, or something of that caliber. I think you could get something back for him that isn't too bad.
I agree. I totally agree that he won't be on the Soto deal, but could be in another one. 2 more, JD, as we finish up this mailbag segment. The Antonio Rich on Twitter says, if Corbett is included in a trade package, do you two think that a chance of Scenery might bring him back to life? I know that I think you might have talked about this one a little bit on Twitter with this person. There was a second part to this question, but I couldn't fit it. I think yes. I think changes of scenery more times than not benefit the player. Look at Matt Carpenter this year. Even look at J. Happ and John Lester last year. Look at Nolan Arenado. I mean, he struggled in his last year in Colorado, a little bit of injury, but still struggled. And then a change of scenery to a winning club like St. Louis. I say yes. Is he going to become the Patrick Corbin of 2019, winning a World Series? I don't know if he's going to become that kind of Patrick Corbin, but I do think he'll be a more effective Patrick Corbin with the Cardinals.
Yes, I think he would be better. You've seen veterans come to St. Louis and turn things around. You mentioned a couple of names right there that have done it, and you get them into a culture. People just love playing in St. Louis. They do. They're just the way that the fan base is, the way the ballpark is. It's a pitcher's ballpark. He's a sinker ball kind of guy, and you've got that amazing defense behind him. It lines up that he should improve. As you said, will he be what he was a couple of years ago when he was, almost elite in a way as a left-hander in the league? I'm not planning on that, but I definitely see reasons why he would be better coming to the Cardinals, just because of the surroundings around him, the change of culture, and a chance to pitch as going towards the playoffs again. I mean, that re-energizes guys more than you think.
Especially somebody who has a taste of a championship like Corbin does as well.
Yeah.
Last one, short and sweet, JD, from Captain Jack on Instagram. Will the Cardinals sign Soto? This is a gut reaction, putting both of us on the spot here. What say you, yes or no? We're going to change the question a little bit to, do they acquire Soto? But what say you, JD? Do the Cardinals get Soto before August 2nd? Yes or no?
I want him, but it just seems so far-fetched that they would give up everything that they have built in this farm system for the plan that when Goldie is done in a couple of years, I can't see them just blowing it all up. I think your chances are, if I had to give I would say 30-60 that they would get him. So I'd have to say no. I don't think it'll happen. I want it to, because it'd be so cool, but history has with the Cardinals, I just can't see them pulling it off at the trade deadline.
I agree. I think it just seems too good to be true.
Man.
It sucks. But we're still going to speculate because there are still a lot of rumors linking it. And
Yeah.
until rumors say otherwise, we will treat it as though it is a possibility because it is a possibility that the Cardinals do get him. So a really long mailbag section over 50 or segment there, 15 plus minutes. Thank you guys for all the questions. If you have more, we'll talk about how you can send those questions in just a minute. But first, we do want to tell you about BlueNile.com because whether you are ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, you can celebrate her with Julie as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple online tools that lets you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. And then Blue Nile's bench jewelers will handcraft the perfect engagement ring. And each ring is one of a kind, just like your special. Someone looking for fine jewelry has never been easier than it is with Blue Nile, as they have jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via the phone or chat to find memorable gifts at every single budget. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Plus, every order is insured, ships-free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. You can shop stress-free and find your forever piece by going to BlueNile.com today.
The Cardinals are up north in Toronto tonight at the Rogers Center to battle the Blue Jays, who have won 6 in a row, 8 of their last 10, and are 53-43 overall, which puts them at 12.5 games back in the AL East because the Yankees are ridiculous. But they are in the top wildcard spot in the American League. Before we get into the Blue Jays stuff, we do have more Juan Soto talk to get to. So don't worry. We're going to get back to more of it here in just a little bit because an article came out today that we want to chat about just a little bit. But let's introduce you to what the Blue Jays have to offer in this quick 2-game series in Toronto. The Bats clearly are alive. I don't know if you noticed that football score between Toronto and Boston the other night, 28-5 drubbing of the Red Sox on Friday. My, oh my, they've got some big names and some big hitters up and down this lineup, don't they, Lucas?
It's a deadly lineup that we saw in St. Louis a month and a half ago in May, whatever it was, and it's a lineup that can hit. It's full of major league kids as well. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s on that team, Kevin Biggio, Bo Bichette, all these. I think at one point they had their entire infield was sons of Major League Baseball players, which is pretty remarkable. They can hit, and that is no secret. But they can also pitch, JD, because Jose Barrios and Kevin Gausman take the mound for the Blue Jays today and tomorrow. These are the same two pitchers that pitched against the Cardinals on the 24th and 25th of May. Barrios striking out 7 in that start and 6 in the third. He gave up 7 hits, 3 runs. They were all earned. He did surrender 1 home run. And on the 23rd, it was, or 24th rather, it was Kevin Gausman. He dominated 6 shutout innings. He struck out 8 without Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. Clearly, even with Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, Cardinals would have their hands full with these two pitchers today. And this is a Blue Jays team that you're catching them at the wrong time.
Yeah, they're playing really, really good, and they're hitting really good. I mean, their lineup is so crazy, dude. Like going back and forth, just up and down. Springer leading off with 17 bombs. Guerrero Jr. bats second for him. You've got Alejandro Kirk, who I don't even know where the hell he came from, and he's just an all-star catcher out of nowhere, hitting 319. You mentioned Bichette. Teoscar Hernandez can slug. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And then you got Matt Chapman with 16 bombs in the number 7 spot. It's going to be a tough go to get through this murderer's row of Toronto. Palante is going to take the hill tonight. I wish you the best of luck, Andre, because it is not going to be easy. But if there is a positive for this, even without Goldie and Arenado in the lineup, is Barrios is hittable. Okay, he's got good stuff. He throws like 97, like he sits there pretty comfortably. Curveball, changeup, but he's hittable. It's not something that he will strike out a lot of hitters, but he's not that great. Like he was supposed to be a superstar. All right, when they got him from the Twins, and he was going to be ace material, and it just hasn't manifested itself just yet. So you've already seen him. You know what he's got. It's going to be tough without Goldie and Nolan. I don't know how else to put it, because you're subbing in guys like Dickerson. Pujols will be in the lineup tonight playing first base. Brendan Donovan's going to be over at third base filling in for Nolan. So it ain't going to be easy, but he's beatable. That's about all I can say about Barrios. He is beatable.
And in that start on the 24th of May, it took a Goldschmidt walk-off grand slam to win that game in that 10th inning. You also saw 3 hits from Nolan Arenado. Considerable, and the Cardinals did hit him, tagging him for 3 runs, but it was Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt doing some of the damage. And we don't mean to harp on their absence, but when you're losing 2 All-Stars, it's going to notice. You're going to notice these things, and it doesn't get any easier with Gausman on the mound the next day.
Yeah,
because he struck out 8 Cardinals in that start, and Goldschmidt had 2 hits, and Arenado was 0 for 3. So this is going to be a tall task this series, JD. My prediction is that best case scenario, they get a series split. I don't see them sweeping this series. I really don't.
No, I wouldn't see that either. A split, getting a win tonight would be great. Just kind of get that feeling of winning back in them after losing 2 of 3 in Cincinnati. With the guys being out, I do want to point out that Austin and Romine also out. Those 3 have been placed on the restricted list. The team did recall outfielder Connor Capel, catcher Ivan Herrera, and selected the contract of infielder Corey Spangenberg as substitute players from AAA Memphis. Spangenberg is going to wear that number 18. Mike Shannon's old number, Andy Van Slyke and Oscar Taveras, Carlos Martinez most recently wore it. So he's not in the starting lineup tonight, but those are the guys that they're filling in. Like he put those names in for Nolan and Goldie, and it's kind of ugly. It's not what you want to see. So it's going to be tough, but hopefully they can get a split tonight. Tonight would be the ideal matchup as far as trying to get one of the wins against Barrios. Now, if you are ready to pop the big question, or perhaps your significant other has a birthday coming up, or it's an anniversary, or just a special occasion in general, it is time to find that piece of jewelry that is as unique as she is, but do it with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com, which is the read you already did. So I will move on to do a different one, and we will talk about instead the Sports Card Investor app, which is the hobby's most powerful resource. Welcome to the world of sports cards reimagined. Quickly check the value of your favorite cards, find great deals, and profit from the hobby that you love. Available completely free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, the Sports Card Investor app. It's a must-have for baseball fans. If you're interested in getting into sports cards, you can find great deals on your favorite Cardinals players like Nolan Arenado and Goldschmidt, Ryan Helsley, or perhaps you want to grab some guys from other teams that maybe you'd like to see in a Cardinal uniform one day. Like, I don't know, what about Juan Soto? That's not a bad one, right? Frankie Montas, Luis Castillo, and more. Julio Rodriguez card still at number 1, but it's not just MLB cards, it's other sports too. The number 2 card, Lucas, Trey Lance's 2021 Prism rookie card, quarterback for the 49ers. So it tells you all of the stuff, like when you go on and you log on, it'll give you whether or not the pricings are good or bad. They'll tell you which ones are the most popular cards at the moment. Very easy to use app. It's fantastic if you're into sports card or looking to get involved in it. Download the Sports Card Investor app today. It's available for free right now in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, or you can go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked-on. So Juan Soto, as we've mentioned multiple times, obviously the talk of baseball right now. It's not just the Cardinals. It's all over the place. Like there are multiple teams who are interested in acquiring him for good reason, because he's an absolute stud. And it's going to take a lot to get him. And so obviously the sports writers are having a lot of fun with it, as we have, where they're putting together different deals to see who can land Juan Soto, which one would be the best one. CBSSports.com's RJ Anderson put out a trade deadline preview today with the focus on Juan Soto. Now, he's got 7 teams listed and has them ranked at who he thinks will get him. Now, he's got the Giants, then the Mariners, the Mets, Yankees, Padres, Dodgers, and coming in at number 1, Lucas, he has the St. Louis Cardinals.
It's sort of surreal to think that this would actually be linked to them. I think every team is wanting their team to be linked to Juan Soto. And even though we just talked about 2 segments ago, we feel like it might be unlikely, there are still reports coming in. The one you just mentioned, Jeff Passan wrote an article that was released on ESPN Plus, I believe, that he named 5 teams. And then he also said that the Padres and Cardinals are likely the favorites to land him if he's moved. I think that's an important caveat too. If Juan Soto is moved, then the Cardinals become the favorite. If he isn't moved, are they a favorite in the offseason? That remains to be seen. But I just so the reports, and we can speculate as to how accurate MLB Leaks and MLB Nerds and some of those websites are, or Twitter handles are. But when you're seeing CBS Sports and Jeff Passan name these names out, John Heyman, Joel Sherman, that's when you start really starting to believe a little bit more. When Ken
Mhm.
Rosenthal says something, that's when I'll believe it. For 100%.
Yeah.
That's when I will start 100% thinking, okay, let's start. Let's start getting in that mindset. Right now, it's a lot of speculation, a lot of hope, but good movement for the Cardinals as we get closer to the deadline next Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's we went through these feelings with Nolan Arenado. Remember, like it was one year, it was like they're going after him, and then it just kind of fizzled and it fell apart, and nothing ever happened. And then the following year, I'm like, you're not going to fool me again. There's no way they're going to land Nolan. The Cardinals have just traded for Nolan. I was like, oh my gosh, what? It happened? That's legit, and it happened quick. As you mentioned, these big names that have the blue check marks that are with national affiliated stations, they're the ones, and they're all saying it almost. Like I haven't really seen anybody else saying anybody other than the Cardinals is the right spot for him. And it's because of the talent that the Cardinals have, not only already at the major league level, but also their prospects, Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn. You've already got Alec Burleson, whose name is starting to pop up a lot more frequently in these reports. Matthew Liberatore, Ivan Herrera, who's with the team in Toronto. He's another one that I don't know if the Nationals need a catcher, but why not? Throw him in there. And then you've got, Tyler O'Neill, you've got Bader. Gorman's name obviously is popping up a lot more. He's starting to struggle a little bit at the major league level. Those strikeouts are piling up, so perhaps it wouldn't hurt as much to move a Nolan Gorman. What if you traded Gorman and Liberatore together? That way they can stay together in a deal for
Smart.
Juan Soto. That could happen. Dylan Carlson, we mentioned. I don't think they'd move Tommy Edman, but Brendan Donovan, another young player that maybe would be a piece that you could throw in there. This is why the Cardinals are the favorites in a lot of these articles, is because of all of this talent I just ran through.
Totally agree. That was going to be my next point, is that, nobody else has the plethora of talent the Cardinals do at both levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, Padres might have it more at the minor league level, but they're not going to have anybody at the major league level that they can move like the Cardinals do, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Nationals aren't going to take on Eric Hosmer's contract. The Nationals aren't going to take Will Myers' contract. The Padres just don't have that, right?
Yeah.
And the Cardinals have both, and it's been reported that the Nationals are going to want both. And you have the Albert Pujols Juan Soto connection, the two buddies at the home run derby. You've got the history of stars coming over and signing long-term contracts. Or if they didn't, like Larry Walker when he came over, still loved his time in St. Louis. To this day, has said that. St. Louis is a spot, whether people hate it or like it, it's a spot where players enjoy playing. And, Juan Soto, being a Scott Boras client, is likely going to test free agency no matter what team he's on, right? But if you can get him for 2.5 years and maybe have him fall in love with St. Louis, then you start saying, hey, let's get a contract extension start working out, right?
Mm-hmm.
First things first, get him to St. Louis. But the Cardinals just have so many options of which routes they want to go and still leave their farm system, JD, in a pretty decent spot. That's the last thing I'll say, is that most trade, their farm system is done. Not the case necessarily with the Cardinals, depending on which route they go.
Yeah, and then if you get him, and again, he still has 2 more years after this one that he's under contract. Doesn't necessarily mean he can't say, well, I want to be re-signed or get an extension before I start playing. He could pull that card, I guess, but you still have 2 more years of him. Guess who else's contract is up in 2 years? Paul Goldschmidt. All right, so Goldie, if you, and just hear me out here, Juan Soto, not a great outfielder. Goldie will be, 37 when his contract is done. You're probably not going to re-sign him, maybe as a DH or something too, but maybe Juan Soto becomes that first baseman if you trade Jordan Walker instead of Walker being the next up-and-coming first baseman, because Arenado's there, and I don't foresee him opting out. People talk about that. He's not doing that.
No, he's not.
He's happy. He likes it here. He just wants to win. That's his only complaint is
he's not going to get paid the same way either. The contract's not going to go up if he opts out. It's just not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So he, if you're thinking down the road here, which is what some of the people were criticizing, that we're only thinking about this season, and I'm not, but I've tried to think a little bit more ahead of where they might go with this. You trade some of these products, that's still 2 more years that you can replenish what you lost to get Soto. And then you don't have to. And when his contract's up, maybe you're just like, you know what? That was fun. We don't foresee us wanting to spend 500, 600 million, wherever it is, in 2 years. And you let him walk. And that's okay. because you gave it a shot. And these last 3 seasons, you went for it by making the trade in the first place. It's another reason why I go back and forth whether or not they're going to do this or not, because there's a way to win by getting Juan Soto, and then there's also a way to win by not getting him and putting it towards pitching. Neither of those are problems. The only issue that both of us said was if they don't do either or, then they're in trouble. Then people are going to really be pissed off at them. And I don't foresee them not doing something because they want to win too. And with the guys you've got on the team this year and Goldie and Arenado and the last ride for Molina and Pujols, possibly Wainwright, you've got that money coming off the books too, by the way, next year. If Waino doesn't come back and Molina's gone and Pujols, that's like another $30 million that you can toy with. So it just seems like it's a spot. If the Cardinals were going to go all in and put their chips all in and go get Soto, this would be the year to do it.
Totally agree. Why not? Proven versus projected with who they've got on the roster. Go get a proven piece in Juan Soto. Why not? Why not?
And as you mentioned, people, when they do get to St. Louis, they tend to want to stay. Very rarely do they decide, you know what, I'd rather go play somewhere else. It doesn't happen very often. It's not 100% guarantee that he'll do that because, as you mentioned, his agent is Scott Boras, who will want to shop him around to a lot of those big markets like the Dodgers and the Yankees, who in 2 years, the Yankees could be losing Judge. They might want to use that money towards him. So a lot of options for Boras as far as what he can do with his client. But I don't know. We were saying 30-60, 30 or whatever, 30-70 were the odds in the early on. Maybe it's even more now, just the more I think about it. But that's why I keep waffling, dude. I don't have an answer. I don't know what they're going to do. I just hope they do something. So obviously we'll keep everybody posted if anything does happen with any trades for the Cardinals and Juan Soto. But as of right now, he is not a Cardinal. The team is in Toronto. They will face the Blue Jays tonight. So they'll be without Arenado and Goldschmidt. But Pujols will be in the lineup, so that'll be fun to watch. So we're looking forward to that. Once again, we want to thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Now make the Lock On MLB your second listen. Speaking about all these prospects around baseball that could be traded, Locked On MLB has got you covered, man. They'll tell you all about the different trades that not only the Cardinals could make for Juan, but other teams that are interested in him. So be sure to check that out. And it's just like Locked On Cardinals, free and available on all platforms. So if you can, check them out. For Lucas, I'm JD. Thanks for hanging with us. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.